You've done a deep dive into the framework, and you want to look at that in relation to how referees are coming to some of the decisions, or officials are coming to some of the decisions they've come to recently.
Well, we're talking about interpretation, consistency of interpretation, but there's a framework. There's a head collision framework, head on head, that World Rugby have put as a guideline, not a guideline, a structure here.
And so to be clear, you didn't create that.
No, I didn't draw this
Microsoft
up. I can't do this. But what it does is you've got to ask yourself, are referees being boxed into a corner before they get a chance to introduce mitigation? So you look at it. Was there head contact? Yes. Keep going down. Was there any foul play? Definition of foul play at the moment is head on head, not intentional or not unintentional collision, not use of force, not a chance to wrap. There's foul play. So now the referee's saying, is this illegal? Is this illegal? Yes, there is foul play. Players at fault. Well, they're in the same area and they're having head-on-head, so they're at fault, right? When it gets to 3, you're in card. So all of the yeses here lead you to a card. Before you get a chance, see on the right here, mitigation will not apply for intentional or highly reckless acts of foul play. You don't get a chance to introduce mitigation until right at the end. 4th stage, is there any mitigation? When you're already in card territory, okay? So our suggestion, or my suggestion, is that we probably need World Rugby to assist in letting the referees introduce mitigation at stage 2, where you're talking about intent, you're talking about, the language stops from being, is it always illegal, to the intent versus accuracy equation. Because when you're in a high velocity, high impact game with players, accuracy is very important. And if you get it wrong, the rugby incident, let's call it, then that can lead to a head on head. Now, I didn't have the intent there, so then I should go down a different pathway that takes me away from a card, absolutely, and allows the referee to get the TMO to tell him, actually, I think that he didn't have a chance to wrap, or it was an unintentional collision, or there was something else happening other than foul play. Referees in a rabbit hole, and Hoops has spent a bit of time on this too, because I can see him grinning over here.
Just to maybe clarify this in terms of how it's used at the moment. Do you have? We've got some examples. Do you want to talk us through?
Well, let's talk through Tadhg Beirne. So we've got the clip of Tadhg Beirne. So in this framework, there's no other way than to say this is a card, head on head,
shoulder on head.
It's not talking about intention. It's shoulder on head, head contact, straight into foul play. Referee has to go straight to yellow or red card, and then they talk themselves into a red card. What you could have done is introduced at stage 2, when you're determining you've established head contact, then you're establishing second, not foul play, because head contact is foul play. You're establishing intent or accidental collision. That's a mitigating factor. Involuntary collision there is why they rescinded this card. That could have been determined at stage 2. That referee didn't have to put his hand on his pocket.
Just for clarity, just for people who may be not aware of this incident, that was yellow card initially, upgraded to red on review, so a 20-minute red card for Ireland in that game.
That's right.
And then several days later, a judiciary rescinded the red card, so Tadhg Beirne wasn't suspended, was free to play.
I feel like we have seen 1 or 2 incidents. The Lions rings a bell. People will probably be able to...
They've been dismissive very quickly of it.
Yeah, where they assess, OK, that's happened. Has there been foul play? And they're talking to the TMO. And I remember it because I felt enthused by it, the referee going, no, I think that was X, Y, Z, penalty only.
Well, this is the thing. Also, that brings me to another very important point. We're not talking about diminishing player welfare here, right? We're talking about, that's sacrosanct, but we're talking about intentional versus what you're going to go and do shortly. But also ref consistency. The application, in its attempt to develop some sort of consistent framework to almost insulate the referees from the frailty of interpretation, they've constructed a very rigid framework, right, which is to be commended. But I think we all recognise now that there needs to be an introduction of a mitigating factor earlier than the 4th, where you're deciding between red and yellow and penalty kick.
So before Hoops gives us his new theory, we're building it up.
I don't know if I want to now.
There's been the thing that I identified out of all of these, and South African rugby Twitter's up in arms about various ones. And
That's
Harry
unusual
Hawkings,
for South African rugby
Harry
Twitter.
Hawkings,
Well, we've got the Harry Hawkings one too.
Got the Harry Hawkings one.
Yeah, we do.
We've got that. Let's flash that up, because this talks about, a lot of the language here was wrap, didn't wrap.
Yeah.
But the force of that, he doesn't have time. That is a chest on shoulder, high collision, high risk.
Yeah, but
the size of the impact went against Harry.
yeah, and the fact it's slightly slid up. You could absolutely argue that was just a pretty
That's the
solid
Marika
shot.
one, though, from the French game, isn't it?
2021.
We
So-
talked about the head going forward.
Yeah.
His head goes forward here, doesn't it?
And the
So
I reckon the big difference here that you talk about.
So but they said you didn't. The language,
They
that
said,
did
"Oh,
him
it's
in-
not-
the
it's
thing
not
that
rap."
did him in the eye was rap.
Yeah,
No rap.
so the rap is
But-
the big question mark for particularly that one versus the two South Africans. So you look at Harry, you're dead set right about the Marika. His arm is low to his side and then it comes around. So you can argue there's a rap. It's
Yeah.
just late,
It's just
right?
a
He's got
great
it
shot,
wrong.
isn't it?
It's a great
It's
hit.
a great
Whereas
shot.
you go back and look at...
like- hard to get a
but
wrap when he
there is
bounces
a
off
wrap
like
there.
that.
His right arm
Okay,
is
so-
touching the attacking
so
player,
what-
and his left arm does come away
what they
from his
got
own
it,
body.
what they got it back to was it didn't meet red card threshold, but they said in the thing there was
'Cause it's
still
now-
foul play, right? So they're talking about foul play because it hit his chest and came up, which they deemed
This is-
foul play. Now watch the difference between the arm. His elbow goes up and through. So, and it's the same one with Lou Diego, right? The arm doesn't come around the back, it kind of elbow up through. I reckon that's kind of probably how they're taught to
gets-
clean.
and
He
for
gets
people at
chopped.
home, that was a straight red card, no yellow upgraded or anything.
But he gets
just straight
chopped
red.
sideways by tackler,
Yeah.
and now he realises ball's out of the ball carrier's hand, and so he's probably
So, but
trying to exit that contact.
They pinged
area
him
early.
on no wrap. That's
Yeah.
what the wording
Yeah, so,
was, no
you know,
wrap.
Did it get reversed, that one?
No,
No, that's
he's got to
under-
go through.
So,
a
and it's the
disciplinary
same with the Lou
process.
Diego one, which was to the melon. But both of those guys did the same kind of action. They're, both obviously locks. They're taught how to. His arm comes up and cleans almost, I guess you'd say. It doesn't wrap around.
It doesn't
body.
help that
So
in both those that they're getting tackled as well by
Yeah,
other
that's
players,
right.
so it makes the hit look extra powerful. It's not a
Well,
one-on-one
yeah,
because you're
just-
getting...
just- You get straight up.
Just before I reference that, Luke Diego got 4 weeks, and I think South African Rugby are appealing it. This is going through the disciplinary process now. But to your point there, Hoops, that in this example we're seeing right now, Mostert, is that Garbisi from Italy is being tackled as well. Let's not forget Mostert is 6'8" or something like that, and he has come down himself quite a fair bit, which is supposed to be a point of mitigation. And similar with the Harry Hockings one is another bloke who's 6 foot, nearly 7, and he is fully hinged at the hip. He is down very low.
Yeah.
I thought all of that is supposed to be the
and
mitigating factors.
Lou Diego
Oh, it's
one.
hard
it's
on.
the no
You
wrap.
can't
It's the
do
no
that.
wrap.
It's the no wrap.
Yeah, it's
They'd have no
So-
problem with the body height. They have no problem with that. It's the no
But do you
wrap.
know what I
You just
reckon?
find 6'12" people and get away with taking everyone's head off because, well, it's 6'12", we can't get down that low.
Do you know where-
There's about accuracy and then intent. So accuracy poor, intent no.
How do you-
Chance to wrap, good shot, collision, not a card, penalty kick, move on.
So if you want at step 2 there to be an adjudication on things like accuracy and intent, how do you adjudicate on intent? Good.
Well, you start. Well, you can. I mean, there is a clumsy accuracy and there is an intentional foul play act, right? You can absolutely go in and take someone out, which is what everyone is fearful of, is reducing the harshness of this pathway, which could possibly introduce thuggery into the game, or back into the game, let's call it. Cynical play and thuggery, isn't it? That's a bit of the worry, right?
One more
So
point.
we need a distinction there, right? There needs to be a mitigating factor and a forensic attitude delivered to types of foul play.
Yeah,
But
so
we
I
want Hoops to come
I
in on
got a
foul
list
play.
here. Well, no, I think at that step 2, you could go down. Well, it's either going to be a red there, or it's going to be a yellow card and on report. So that's how you get rid of it straight away. And I know I've talked about that on the various shows we've been on throughout the year.
Rather than a 20-minute red or yellow
I think you
card
should take
review.
the 20-minute red out and it should be a
potentially
straight
got
red.
legs, yeah, like
and the
report.
straight red comes under 2 categories, and I think that's foul play. Now, I'll run through this list. Punch, strike, knee drop, bite, squirrel grip, gouge, Mike Tyson, ear bite, fish hook, hair pull, or a Bernard Foley just missing touch should get red card.
And a hopper.
So that's-
you don't want to add a hopper.
No,
delay
no, you
there.
said that
game.
one. And then, so that's the obvious, that we can't have that in the game. I think, eye gouge, did I get that in there?
Yeah.
And then the other one is recklessness. And that is knowing and unknowing recklessness. Yeah. And I think there's got to be a level of control that the player has a responsibility to put out there. Now, I think in those South African, I don't know what's going to happen and it's going to be the fallout of these, I think Lude's the only one that should have reached a red card there.
Okay.
Lude, I think, is going in recklessly. Yeah, he might not have intent to hit the head, but he did hit the head. I think these rugby incidents, but like the wrap, of course doesn't look like a wrap in slow-mo. Like in high speed, he's, you know, same with the Hockings. The forces these guys are putting into it are huge. And to mention the tackler that's already starting to pull that player down. And
particularly when players are judged in defence on making dominant tackles, you kind of have to hit first with the shoulder to make a dominant tackle 99% of the time.
No, you have to. You have what else are you using to make a dominant? You can't do it with your arm unless you're probably...
And if you do it at speed, hitting first with the shoulder, and even if you're intending to wrap, you might just miss the wrap.
Well, what if, let's play devil's advocate, what do you put on that good a shot and the guy just ricochets off you? Is that a shoulder charge?
Hockings.
You know?
Yeah, and that's chest, isn't it? We talk about, he was hit with the shoulder. You're connecting with your chest versus shoulder. Do you know what I mean? Like chest and shoulder feel like they're counted as the same thing in the rule book.
Within my framework, I just like, so the Tadhg Beirne one, let's use that as an example. You go straight on, and I know it was a yellow card that was then reversed to a red, but if it was a yellow card and the guys upstairs reviewing it, they would go straight away and go, foul play. Is there foul play? No, he didn't punch, whatever. He didn't go through any of that list. He didn't miss touch like Bernard. Or the recklessness there. I don't think there's...
No Christmas card.
I don't think there's recklessness here. If there's any common sense used, he has no idea Beauden Barrett's coming down that line. Yep. He is bracing. Like, that's probably a reckless line from Beauden Barrett. And I think he came out and said something like that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So, you know, in doubt now, OK, well, we've seen head contact here. Yellow card, put it on report, and we go from there.
Can I? Oh, Paddo, you even...
No, I think that at the heart of Hoops' issue is, not issue, but contention is like, let's put a lot of this stuff on report for a considered review later on, right? Because I think that that's important. What has kind of been a bit weird is that we've seen a couple of like referees looking back up at the screen giving straight reds again, and I was like, why on earth wouldn't they just give the yellow card under this new, and then let the TMO or the foul play review officer make the decision thereafter? They've got another 8 minutes to factor in all of those things. So, but I didn't realise this, but under the trial, the foul play review officer, who is actually the one who goes and looks for those 8 minutes, cannot give a permanent red card. So basically it's incumbent on, in this trial, it's incumbent on the ref to do it then or never.
Right.
So like Gus Gardner, you could argue, probably got it right with the Lou Diego, but was that a permanent straight red card, the Mostert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a straight red.
That feels like that's putting undue pressure on the referee to make a decision, you know, in the moment. He's got the game, people wanting the game to restart. It's kind of like, why can't we trust the foul play review officer or the TMO, whatever, to look at it as they normally do and then say, you know what, we've reviewed this is a permanent red card because we it shouldn't be done in the moment.
All of it foundationally, everyone, World Rugby, priority is player welfare, right? We get the player welfare. So wouldn't it be wonderful to think that we could get circa 90% of the current players to give feedback on this and understand what they're comfortable with and what they're understanding? They're at the coalface executing and at risk. It'd be great to get a contemporary understanding of what players find as, you know, the difference between intention or the types of foul play they're encountering and the types of circumstances, you know, and get an informed feedback from that rather than possibly, you know, a couple of blokes, well, certainly me, played a fair while ago, or coaches who have a different lens compared to World Rugby, compared to commerciality, compared to spectacle, compared to fan. We've listened to fan. The game has listened to fan. The 20-minute red card is direct feedback from fans and about intent, validity of result from players as well, to be not rubbed out of big games and fans wanting to see as even a contest as possible and coaches wanting to see that as well.
Do you think that the threshold, I'll ask you both, you know, in the last decade or so since, you know, we've become much more aware of concussion and the head contact stuff, but do you think, like if we tease out that logic, would players come to a different...
Who knows? Be interesting, right?
A
They might
different
come to a soft
perspective.
review.
Yeah, but that's my point, is like, would they, like, we see terrible incidents like Ellie Qatar, and like, you can see the impact of a couple of head knocks. Like,
No, but I think we've seen... So
it's not obviously not the same thing, but we're talking the same area.
There's been a climb in self-reporting.
Yeah.
There's been players who've
That's what
taken
I'm
themselves
interested in.
off, run the flag up at training even, and put themselves into voluntary HIA process. So I think understanding and awareness is as high as it's ever been, and also validity of protecting the human.
Yeah, and the game's doing a really good job at putting that at the forefront, like you say, Goog, and that is so important because, like years ago that wasn't a thing, and now it is a thing, and that's, a really positive shift in the game. And I just think the commercial, you mentioned the commercial side of it, putting your player's hat on or putting your boots on, you are reckless or you engage in foul play, Lude's now missing a couple of weeks. That's, a test match that he misses, that he wants to be a part of. That's, him impacting his team. That's him impacting potential salary. That's him impacting all these potential further selection going forward. Like, there are ramifications that aren't just, like on the game day, I gave away a red and whatever. Like, there's serious ramifications if I get this wrong. So to think that, if we get this right, that thuggery will just enter back, or we get this wrong, thuggery just enters back in the game, I don't think it's going to happen.
Do you think mentioned player welfare is sacrosanct? It's paramount in all of this framework and this officiating being brought in, also with the point that we're understanding more about concussion. But in two of those examples, Garbisi from Italy, who got hit by Mostert, and Beauden Barrett, who got hit by Tadhg Beirne, neither of them went off for a head injury assessment. Do you think if the player welfare should also extend to there? Like, not to punish anyone or punish any team, but if you're really checking if this contact to the head is of concern and should be penalised, that player who gets contacted should at least go off for some assessment.
So that wouldn't have been the player's choice.
No, I'm not
so
saying that.
There would have been an independent doctor watching. There would have been a team of trained medical experts specifically having a camera watching the actions of that player, right from impact, the way that he reacted, the way that he got off the ground, his next involvement, his speed to next involvement, his talk, his activity, any signs of lag. I don't think an automatic extraction from the game based on the force of the impact is something that you should make compulsory. I think there's still enough of an independent framework to assess a player in terms of importantly, someone's watching it, because we know that what happens if you don't watch it, apparently. So, we know that person is an envelope of care straight away. In fact, every player is in an isolated, objective environment to assess HIA validity.
So the rules say that it's foul play, dangerous play, even if the first contact is on the chest or wherever, and then shoulder, and then moves on to the head. So I guess that's what they've determined. So they're being punished for being in the wrong zone. Essentially, it doesn't necessarily mean that the player was sustained a head injury.
It's so tough, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
every pick and drive, there's collision with the head.
Of course, yeah.
I don't envy being in the guy's position, having to make these calls, and we're throwing a bit of shade. But hey,
No, it's a good chat.
I will say that, right, like, to end it, rugby's doing a pretty good job and has been way out ahead of many other codes on this stuff.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. But we're here to discuss and debate and analyse and sometimes
someone
criticise.
get carded for missing touch.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
I hope he watches this show.
Oh, he does.
I can get my phone.
Got it now.
Yeah, no, I
Does
feel
he still
it's
have blonde hair? We still want to know if he's got shady.
This was payback for the blonde hair. I
Okay.
just,
You give
feel
him
a bit rattled.
Give him a fish hook for the...
Now, I